Hello everyone. I'm really excited for today's video because I'm going to be breaking down like the bread and butter of what I teach, the bread and butter of my brand, the bread and butter of my business. And so, the bread and butter for you to get your finances right and never look back. And so if you guys don't know, I own a company called JFF, or Journey to Financial Freedom. That's what this logo is over here. And we do financial coaching for the faith-based and ambitious. And we're really big on the concept of stewardship. Actually, our program, the financial coaching program, is called The Good Steward. And so stewardship is just how we manage the resources that God has blessed us with, particularly money. You know, it's really important as believers to understand what God is calling us to do when it comes to the topic of money, right? He definitely doesn't want us idolizing money, right? Which is money being God, not God on the throne. And so that's where a lot of people go wrong, is they idolize money, right? And that's where money goes bad. At the same time, though, God also doesn't just say sit around and do nothing when it comes to your money. There's a particular way that God wants us to manage all the resources that He gives us, but especially money. And so let's talk about that today. And so today's lesson is called The Good Steward's Guide, Managing Money with Biblical Wisdom. In a world driven by material pursuits, believers are called to a different approach to money management. Biblical stewardship isn't just about growing wealth, it's about honoring God with every financial decision we make. This guide will explore 10 biblical principles that can transform your relationship with money, bringing you financial peace while glorifying God. Together, we'll discover how to handle finances in ways that reflects God's wisdom and builds a legacy of faithful stewardship. So, if this sounds like everything you've been looking for, stay with me here. Let's go through this. All right. So the number one principle is understand God owns it all, like the foundation of biblical finances. The cornerstone of biblical financial management is acknowledging that everything, our income, possessions, and resources, they ultimately belong to God. As Psalm 21:1 or 24:1 reminds us, the earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it. And so before I keep reading off this a little bit more, the idea here is that God, everything that we have is a blessing from God. It's given to us by God, from God. That's your money, your relationships, your marriage, your health, your body, just to name a few. And so I see it as the resources that God gives us. It's kind of like a plant. He gives us a plant and He expects us to manage that plant in a way that when we go to give it back to Him one day, it's in better shape than when He initially gave it to us. So when you go to hand back money or that plant one day to God, is it going to be thriving or dead? Right? Is it going to be in better shape than when He initially gave it to you, or worse? Hopefully better. Right? That's what we want to shoot for as good stewards. And so this perspective transforms how we handle money. Rather than seeing ourselves as owners, we embrace our role as stewards entrusted with God's resources. This shift in mindset relieves the pressure of ownership while heightening our sense of responsibility. How beautiful is that? Right? So divine ownership, acknowledging that God owns everything, is foundational. Then moving on to accountability, recognizing we answer to God for our financial choices, right? The good and the bad. And stewardship, managing resources for God's glory. All right. Next thing here is work hard and be diligent, earning God's way. And so God blesses diligent and honest labor. Proverbs 14:23 says, all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads only to poverty. And as believers, we're called to work with excellence, serving as if we're working directly for the Lord rather than merely for human employers. And financial blessings often follow disciplined, consistent effort, not shortcuts or schemes. I love the quote that will just wrap this principle up that says, I'm blanking on it now. Opportunities and blessings follow obedience. Right? We want to be obedient because it's the right thing to do. It's what God is calling us to do, especially with our money. And that is our main and only motive, that God wants me to do this. I love God. I don't want to hurt God. I want to honor God. And so I'm going to do what God is calling me to do with my money. But it's okay to know that a byproduct of that usually is blessings increase in abundance. All right. Next one here is spend less than you earn, right? Probably like, duh. But you'd be surprised how many people aren't. Right? You'd be surprised at how much progress this can help you make if you actually implement the needed things to help you get there. And so a couple of things here on how we can spend more than you earn, right? Number one, create a budget. A budget is just how are you supposed to measure your money? If you're not measuring your money, how do you even know that you're making more than you're spending, right? Or that you're spending more than you're making? You probably make some good guesses based off of your bank account, but to be able to improve something, we must first measure it. And then also to be able to reduce our expenses, which is the second thing here, especially in a quality, abundant way. We have to be able to measure our money to then be able to choose where is our biggest area of opportunity when it comes to reducing our expenses, right? And I'm not saying don't live your life. I'm a big fan of living your life, spending your money, and making financial progress at the same time. But at the same point, or at the same time, that there is a lot of times where they have a lot of expenses that are just unnecessary that can be reduced, and there's just instant savings right there. Speaking of savings, you also want to save consistently, even if it's $1 a month. You want to go this way instead of this way with your money. You want to be in the black, not the red. And so put together a savings plan, particularly build an intentional one. What are you saving for? How much do you need to save? And how fast do you want to accomplish that goal? Right? When you don't have a goal around your savings, it's tough. Or I call a mission for your money. Right? Create a mission for your money and it'll enhance your savings. And lastly, please track your progress, right? A lot of people create goal plans or budgets, right? And then they never track progress. Like they'll set the budget or they'll set the goal plan. I want to save 10,000 by the end of this year. And then we're 3 months into the year and they have no idea where they stand. Or I'm only spending $500 a month on eating out. And we're 2 weeks into the month and you've got no idea where you stand. You've got to track your progress. All right. Next thing here is avoid bad debt and borrow wisely, breaking financial bondage, right? And so there's a beautiful amount of information on this slide, and please pause it, read this, take notes, right? But one thing that I want to offer here is my teaching on debt. Not all debt is bad, right? There's a massive difference between good debt and bad debt. Bad debt is buying things you don't need with money that you don't have, with no plan on how to pay it off at a really high interest rate. Right? That'd be like going to the mall right now with bills due, no savings, already got some credit card debt, don't own a house, and going and racking up a huge bill on your credit card for things that you don't necessarily need right now with money that you don't have with no plan on how to pay it off. And that's at 25%, 30% interest rate. That's bad debt. Good debt is leveraging other people's money at a low cost or no cost to increase your value, your opportunities, and your wealth. Right? A couple of examples here. A mortgage could be good debt. You need a house. You need a roof over your head. You're going to have to pay for a home, whether it's you renting or owning. You might as well leverage OPM, other people's money, the bank's money, in the form of a mortgage at a low interest rates, even if interest rates are high, right? It doesn't make sense for you to buy a house in cash, even if you're capable of doing that, when you could get a mortgage for 7%. At the time I'm shooting this, that's the normal rate, right? And so that's good debt. Or for business owners watching this, if you ever invested in a coaching program, a business mentor, a service, right, that got you a really good return on investment where you put 10,000 in and you made 30,000 off of the investment, that's a great return on investment. And a lot of times you use business credit cards, business loans, lines of credit to be able to do that, right? And so that's good debt. All right. So not all debt is bad, right? But avoid unnecessary borrowing, avoid bad debt, and do your best to leverage good debt. And it'll put you in a good spot financially. A couple more things here. Give generously and tithe, opening heaven's floodgates. And so I watched this sermon a couple of years ago, and the pastor had somebody come up on stage, and he said, clench your fist like this, like being symbolic for us clenching money, being scared, hiding our money, and not being generous with it. And he took a huge bucket of coins and he poured it on the person's hand. And the person didn't catch a single coin because his hand was closed. And that's what happens when we're not being generous. We're blocking ourselves from receiving and catching blessings. He said, now open up your hand. And he opened up his hand, being symbolic for us being generous and giving, poured the same bucket of coins over the guy's hand, and guess what? Caught a bunch, right? And so it's symbolic that like when we have an open hand, it's us being generous. And when we're being generous, our hand is open to receive more, to be blessed for that generosity. And so that's what I want to offer around this. And the last thing is, the only thing in the Bible, the entire Bible, that God says the testimony, he only literally says the testimony, one thing, one time, and that comes to tithing. And that's in Malachi 3:10, where it says, bring the whole tithe into the storehouse and see if I will not open up the floodgates of heaven. Powerful, right? Powerful. All right, last couple here. Save and invest, build for tomorrow, right? Saving, we need 3 to 6 months of an emergency fund. Key. No less than 3, massive risk. No more than 6, just sitting in a basic checking or savings because you're losing money on that money. A savings rate. Each month, do your absolute best to save 10 to 15% of your income. So for easy numbers, if you make $5,000 a month, try to save $500. It's 10%. right? And then understand compounding interest when it comes to investing. After you start investing for 7 years and compounding interest really starts to take off, is when you start to really see some major growth. So stay consistent, stay patient, right? The time's going to pass either way. It's our decision on how we want to utilize it. Always do something your future self is going to thank you for, particularly when it comes to saving and investing. All right. Last couple of things here. Leave a legacy, build generational wealth, right? Proverbs 13:22 reminds us that a good man leaves inheritance to his children's children. And so this can be numerical and emotional, right? Emotional probably being even more important than numerical, right? I don't if I had to pick one, I'd rather have you leave your kids emotionally rich, emotionally wealthy when it comes to money, having a good relationship with money, not being fearful, not being scarce, but being abundant in the way that they think about money, attract it, and share it. And then on the other side of things, leave them money, right? Have insurance policies, wills, estate planning, trust, businesses, real estate, all of those things set up properly that when you pass away, those things are passed on to your kids, passed on to the next generation. And you're not only giving them that tangible wealth, but you're coupling it with that emotional, spiritual wealth as well. That's real generational wealth right there. All right. And so a little bit of a piece here. I won't play the video for you, but if you go to my Instagram profile, right, YouTube doesn't like when I'm sending you to other social media platforms, but anyways, here we are. I'm at Justin_Buonamo. You'll go to my profile and you'll see this video pinned here. And what this does is it actually describes my program, The Good Steward. So I have a program inside of my company called The Good Steward, where we do financial coaching for the faith-based and ambitious, right? Our ideal client is somebody that is faith-based, that feels stuck financially, that wants to learn how to manage their money in a way that honors God and aligns with biblical wisdom, but not with all of that outdated, restrictive, confusing type of feeling that finances usually brings on people. So if that sounds like you, you're ready to get your money right and do it in a way that aligns and honors God, but also allows you to live your life in the process, right? Go check this video out. It talks about my program and the mission behind it, and the things that we have been able to do over the past 5 to 6 years, and the things that we plan to continue to do in the name of God moving forward to help people truthfully understand what God is calling us to do when it comes to our money. Again, he doesn't want us to idolize it, but at the same point, he is not saying sit around and do nothing and kick your feet up and neglect and ignore your money. There's a happy medium there, and this program really helps break that down and see those results in your life. And so go check that out on Instagram. But either way, like, subscribe, and share this with somebody that you think would be massively benefited by this message today. Talk soon.